Have you ever heard CNN, New York Times, Democrats, anybody so concerned about cost in your life? It's like these people like just hemorrhage money. They don't care about it. Look at all the NGOs that all the fraud was busted up with. Look at all this stuff. But all of a sudden you start to beautify Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Oh boy. But what was the cost? Unbelievable. But anyway, DC's getting cleaned up. They hate it. Here's why it's important. And I've got a classic, actually not from me, it's from Doug Burgum, the Interior Secretary. The classic comeback to somebody, because somebody's going to say this to you like, what did they pay for that fountain? Somebody's going to say that to you this summer. The perfect comeback of what to say to them. It's just devastating. Also, let's talk about why this whole thing is so important, but it's happening. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Welcome to Wicked Radio, the live stream and the replay Monday through Friday. X, YouTube, Facebook, the audio podcast, wherever you like to get those. Let's get right to it, though. First of all, a little back in time when the project started. Now, this was for the reflecting pool. They started on the Columbus Circle. Clean up there, all the other fountains. I had no idea there were so many fountains in Washington, D.C., but apparently there are, probably because they were just an eyesore before, in total disrepair, especially the reflecting pool, which had been closed. Here's President Trump talking about the start of the project. And I love this clip because it's got all the jackhammers and cranes and construction sounds in the background and saws and all this good stuff. Here's what he was talking about when they started the cleanup of the reflecting pool. Now, I love this because only Trump calls it a reflecting lake. It's a beautiful lake. My whole life, everybody's called it a reflecting pond, but he calls it a lake. When I'm done with it, it's going to be a beautiful reflecting ocean. Anyway, here he was. This is a couple of months ago.
But you mentioned the water fountain. We didn't have one water fountain. I think we have 40. We didn't have one in Washington that worked. And soon they'll all be working. Many of them work right now. And I think one of the best things, President Obama, President Biden spent much more than $100 million on the reflecting lake between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. They spent much more. They spent, some people say, $200 million. You know what they got out of it? A closed lake. It never opened.
It's a reflecting ocean. Anyway, it's important there. Keep in mind the cost. And remember at the time when these news reports came out, when they first started to get to work and clean up and take the graffiti off all the fountains and all the statues and our American heroes and all that stuff, remember what the news reports were. Trump's ego is driving these construction projects. Remember that, okay? Now jump forward to where we are. This was a big weekend. It was a big time to open. They had a big ribbon-cutting ceremony. They had the Columbus Circle, where it had been covered over with graffiti. There were homeless tents there. There were needles on the ground, all kinds of different smells. So it was a big weekend to open that up, big ribbon cutting, all that good stuff. It was Doug Burgum, his big moment in the sun, Interior Secretary. We'll hear from here in a second. But here's a good description. Now, keep in mind, this clip is from Newsmax. It's not exactly unbiased, but she does a pretty good job in describing what it looks like now compared to really just a couple of months ago.
Just sitting here and soaking up this beautiful weather here. I've seen locals and passersby actually oohing and eyeing over the facelift here to Columbus Circle. Now, the Trump administration said that Union Station is the face of Washington, D.C. when you arrive here by bus or by train. So it was important for them to make this a top priority for the overall renovation projects around town. This fountain has been dry since 2007. It was overrun by homeless tents and the smell of marijuana, amongst other unpleasant odors we won't mention here. Now
She's trying to say caca. It smelled like the entire thing. You saw the pictures. This was remember in the George Floyd riots, this became the big deal, and all the graffiti and all the other stuff, among other fountains. Well, that's open. It's open for business. It's beautiful. It's one of the big feature sites of cleaning up Washington, D.C., and we'll get to why that's important for a second. But I wanted to find this, and there's all kinds of clips on this. I didn't find anything searching through TikTok or X or Instagram, even Facebook stuff, where people were walking by it, blue-haired liberals complaining about it, saying it's gross. That's tough to find because even they love it if they live in Washington, D.C. But I found this guy who I thought was interesting. This is what he said about it.
So I'm out Malcolm X Park, and this is the most I've ever seen people here. And I'm pretty sure it's because Trump done turned the water back on. And you gotta give the man credit. He does have a vision in terms of making things in America pretty.
Here's why I thought that was interesting. He made a very important point there at the end, and he gets it. He's a Washington, D.C. resident. He knows it. He walked by it all the time. He said, the fountain's actually on. This is the most amount of people I've ever seen here. He said, you got to give the man credit. He works his plan, and he tries to make it pretty. This sounds like a petty, not a big deal kind of thing, but it is. I don't think it's just a cost. You're going to hear Doug Burgum getting attacked on CNN about the cost here in just a second, but I think it's a lot more than the cost. There's something going on with that, and this is just the extreme, over the edge, insane, lunatic lefty mindset. Can you not look at this now and look at the before and after and the reaction from guys like that and say, there's something wrong with that mindset where they hate beauty? They do. There's just something about it. I don't know what it is. Maybe somebody's going to do a research study on that as far as like beautification versus the left in years to come. They hate it. They hate success. We've known that. They hate property rights. We've known that. They hate beauty. They hate things looking the way they should in beauty. Well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, Bill. Only to a certain point. You can't tell me or any sane person of rational mind that an empty, graffiti-filled, homeless camp that is more beautiful than what's happening now with a beautiful fountain that's happening there. He gets it. Most people get it. Common sense will tell you that. And they hate that for some reason. But they're attacking him on this. So Doug Burgum, the Interior Secretary, it's his moment in the sun. He was in charge of this. He's done a great job so far, it appears. She did a ribbon-cutting ceremony, did some interviews. But you also got to go on CNN and get attacked for it. Here you are, spearheading the project at the direction of the Trump administration for America's 250 to clean up D.C. The reflecting pond, or lake, as President Trump calls it. Columbus Circle, big fountain there. You just heard that guy walking past it there. All the other fountains, all the other projects they're taking on. You go on CNN to talk about it, and you get attacked. She brings Dana Bash, attacks him on cost. But you had this one contractor. Isn't that corrupt? How much are you overspending? What is it here? Oh, now, like I said in the introduction, have you ever heard CNN or the New York Times so concerned about cost in your life? These are people that give a lot of tax money to NGOs, and God knows where all the money goes. But all of a sudden, you're beautifying something, and it's attached to the Trump administration, and a TDS kicks in, and all of a sudden, it's costing too much. But he has a great, great answer here that gives us all some ammunition for somebody that's going to come to you to this summer and say, but what did they spend? He's got a great answer. But first of all, let's take it in pieces. Here's a piece of the interview on Sunday when Doug Burgum got attacked on the cost of beautifying this. A great answer.
The question is, and you mentioned the reflecting pool, of how it's getting done. For example, on the reflecting pool, the New York Times is reporting that you awarded 2 multi-million no-bid contracts to repair fountains at Lafayette Park and to coat the reflecting pool.
First of all, let me stop there before we go on. Did the New York Times or CNN ever do multiple reports on the homeless camps that were there? And this is all true. It wasn't even that long ago. The homeless camps, the needles, the violence, the crime, all of the graffiti that was there. This is America's capital. It matters. Did they ever report on that? I don't think so. Here's Doug.
There were no bid contracts?
Well, this is expedited contracting to get this projects done. And as I just said, we're doing 22 fountains across the city. We're doing 48 monuments. We've removed over 1,000 graffiti sites.
Does expedited mean no bid?
Expedited, I think that
bids?
you're implying that if you have an expedited process that somehow there's something untoward going on. But if you've got one vendor that has the material, has the labor, has the ability, can meet the timeline, and can get it open.
Well, it's also the price, right? I mean, you know this better than I do. That Times said the company doing the reflecting pool has a 20% profit margin. Standard is 6 to 12% going through the regular process.
Okay, so do you think Dana Bash understands any of this of like no bid contracts or contractors or getting different bids and all this thing? And what do you explain? So here's the New York Times article she's in cahoots with that they're going through. So they looked at and they dug every single layer they could to try to rip this thing apart. They're like, it looks great. It's not. Oh no, we can't attack them on that, because if this thing was a failure, if the reflecting pond was a failure so far, or Columbus Circle just looked awful, or one of the things fell down and it fell, that would be front page news, right? They would attack. Trump's incompetent team can't fix up Columbus Circle. That's what it would be in the headline. But that didn't happen. And all of a sudden they tried to interview some Washington D.C. residents and try to get them to slam this thing. Well, couldn't find them. They all seem to be happy about it. And there's, oh my God, for the first time in decades, there's families coming to this area here with strollers. Oh, we can't attack them on that. Let's dig a little deeper, says the New York Times. And they go deeper and deeper and deeper. Let's find out who this contractor is. Who did they take bids from? Oh, wait a minute, it's one contractor. Wait a minute, what? They only went to one? Let's attack them on that. Let's say it was a no-bid contract and they only went to one. Doug Burgum, Interior Secretary, did a great job, and man, is he smooth on his feet, said, no, this is a contractor that has all the materials ready to go. And what he says at the end is, in the end, because we went to them, we wound up saving money because we didn't have to go through a bunch of different contractors to bring in and get the job done because they had the materials and the manpower right there in D.C. Perfect. So now they have nothing. Now the CNN and New York Times and every other left-wing outlet that dares to take it on, they have no ammunition whatsoever. Wait a minute. It's costing less money than it was before. It looks great. Everybody agrees on that. D.C. residents love it. There's less crime, and it looks fantastic. But they try to dig at it as much as they possibly can to appease their lunatic audience who just hates everything and anything. They're so TDS affected, Trump derangement syndrome affected, that they try to affect even the beautification of Washington, D.C. Even that. Because that's what really matters. And why does it matter even? It matters because this is America's birthday coming up. That matters. This isn't as they tried to report it, this isn't a Trump ego project. This is for all of us, and it does matter. And it seems like a silly thing. And the argument pops up all the time. They could have spent so much more time on all the other issues. Well, they are, but this matters just as much. Even though it's a superficial kind of thing. It goes deeper than that. You look at this, and even the residents are saying this past weekend about Columbus Circle. They're like, they had, to a person, they had said the whole thing. I had gotten so used to this being a homeless drug camp with graffiti all over it, with no water in there, that I had gotten used to that being just the way it is. That's the danger. And we can't ever fall into that, because that's that mindset you fall into. When the cities are in disrepair, like L.A. and Chicago and New York and Boston, when the cities are in disrepair, the danger is you start to accept that as, well, it's just the way it is. Here's why it's dangerous, because then it allows everything else to fall apart too. It allows the transportation to fall apart, the roads to fall apart, and we start to just get into this mindset of, well, that's just the way it is, and you start to accept it. No, you can't ever accept it. It matters. That's our nation's capital. It matters that it looks good. It matters that it's safe. It matters that crime's off the street. It matters that needles are off the ground in Columbus Circle. It matters that the reflecting pond actually works between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. That stuff matters. Oh, but did he have to put, that color blue in there? What are you talking about? It all matters. It's not just for America's birthday either. Anywhere. This stuff matters because we're holding ourselves to a higher standard. That's why it matters. But you're still going to face the question. Oh, it's coming. Somebody somewhere in your life. Maybe they're doing it already. But most likely I would say like getting closer to July 4th. Getting closer to our 250. Somebody somewhere is going to say this to you, whether it's at work or a barbecue or on vacation or something. Somebody's going to say, but the cost of what they paid for this, whoa, it's just... Once again, we go back to Doug Burgum, but this particular clip where he has the best answer for all of us to use, for somebody that would say that to you. Here he goes again.
Labor in from
Well, cost is one thing, profit is another.
Yeah, but if their costs are going up because of trying to get this project done, that's a theoretical number that somebody said they might make that much money. Doesn't mean they're going to make that much money. But what we are doing is we are getting the thing fixed, because this is, the New York Times also wrote 12 years ago that the Obama administration spent more money. It was, reflecting pool was closed for 2 years. It never worked. That thing, even right now, when we took this project over, was leaking 45,000 gallons of water a day, 16 million gallons a year, because the thing never worked. And they spent more money.
That's it right there. Oh, Dana Bash wasn't happy with that, right? Shuffling her notes. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, it's successful. Whatever. Let me find something else I can dig on this. But that's your answer. That's your answer right there. 45,000 gallons a day. That's what you tell anybody. What did Doug Burgum say? It amounts to 16 million gallons a year. So when somebody somewhere in your life says, oh, the cost, what they've put into this ridiculous birthday celebration, all you have to do is look at that person and say, Columbus Circle fountain was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. and leave it at that. It's because how do you come back from that? How can you do it? They spent the Obama administration spent more money on that on the reflecting pond, and it didn't work. This is less money than ever spent before, and it looks great, which matters. But that's the devastating thing because it's going to force them to look into it. And that fountain in Columbus Circle, how much did they spend on that? Well, less than the previous administration, and it was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. By the way, where are the climate and environmental nuts on this whole thing, right? They never popped up. Maybe they didn't even know because they don't care because they're frauds. Why didn't they care that 45,000 gallons of water a day was being wasted and going God knows where? I don't know where it goes, but I mean, where are they on this? They didn't chime in this. Of course not, because they're frauds. That's all you have to say. Point to exactly how much better and how much less expensive this was to fix this thing and make it beautiful when everybody says that to you. Devastating line. God, I'm glad he said that. Was a great interview. 45,000 gallons a day. And now we have something beautiful. So apparently where we go from here is they have a bunch more fountains, I guess. I didn't know so many fountains were in Washington, D.C., apparently. But they're fixing them all up. And remember why it matters. Because you can't ever let yourself fall into a trap of thinking, disrepair? That's just the way it is. Don't ever let them fool you into that, ever. All right. It's only Monday. Make it a great one. Make it a wicked awesome Monday. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Always a special shout out because apparently they're outpacing you live stream viewers, the audio podcast listeners. They're on to it. I think audio is so much easier. So wherever you like to get your audio podcast, just download it, share it, find it, like it, whatever they ask you to do. It's everywhere. Just look for me. But also the replay on Monday through Friday is the live stream, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, X, YouTube, and Facebook, and the replay on those same channels as well. Thanks for finding me. I appreciate you. Don't ever let them tell you that the country has to look ugly. It doesn't. And it can be less expensive. Make it a wicked awesome Monday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.